Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Mindful LCA. How you doing today?
I am apparently too worried about what my hair looks like here, so shallow. I'm shallow today. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great. Had the opportunity to help somebody out this morning. They were going through some shit on Facebook. They posted something, and I have been talking to them, kind of just responding and reached out about mental health stuff once or twice. And then I saw they posted some shit about they were just feeling like shit or something like that. And I sent a message. Oh, actually, I dropped a comment. And then he sent me a message like a day or two later. And I responded. And then I told him about possibly, like, if you wanted to, I was doing the coaching thing. Um, I gave him a call. We talked for like 15, 20 minutes. And then he's like, yeah, I'm down. It's very hard. And it's very hard to do this, but I feel like just by what we talked already now, like you gave me the chills out some shit that I said, and you made me think about something that, um, or made me think of something in a way that I never thought about it before. So he was like, "Yeah, fuck it, let's do it." Which reminds me, I looked at that's the reason why I'm feeling good. But it reminds me, I looked at the analytics on YouTube and Spotify, and it's 81% women. Motherfucking guys, where y'all at, bro? What the fuck? 81% women. I think 2% like non-binary or non the other option. Like, cause there's two or three different options. But yeah, yeah, that's why I feel good. I just still want to look for a different title than fucking life coach. I still have no idea what to call it. I feel that
Curandero.
that's a weird term. Yeah, but that was white. He's gonna be like, what the fuck does that mean? Yeah, so some kind of I don't know what the fuck. I'll pay attention to that.
A guide.
Yeah, yeah, like a mental health guide, or I don't know what the fuck, or I don't know. We'll figure that out. But yeah, today we are going to do something a little bit different. I have a compilation of videos that we're gonna be responding to, reacting to, see what we think, what we feel, what reactions we get. I mean, obviously, I seen them all because I downloaded them, and you're gonna be reacting for the first time. But I haven't put so much thought into it, and I want to see that. So I
I have
think,
no idea what I'm walking myself into today, so
yeah.
we'll see.
So just I want you, since I already seen them, I want you to react first, and then every video you'll react first, and we'll go from there. And there's a lot of them, and depends kind of how the conversation goes, and we'll go from there. There's no set timer or anything like that. It's just a different style where we kind of touch on different topics, a little bit more rapid fire than we usually do. Not necessarily rapid fire, but it could be 5-10 minutes versus having a whole hour to it. And yeah, definitely let us know. Let me pull out the banner here. Let us know, mindfulpodcastliving at gmail.com. If you like the episode, drop a comment, drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe, give us a review, and yeah, follow us on Spotify and YouTube. And I think there should be another platforms, but those are the two main platforms. And before I forget, go
I was
ahead,
going to
because I've been doing it.
say our goal is to create a safe space for exploring mental health topics, sharing stories, and learning strategies for well being, fostering empathy, understanding growth, and most importantly, love.
Perfect, perfect.
Let's do this.
Let's do this. Just last kind of thing before we get cracking on. Your divorce episode and my no contact or boundary setting episode is doing really well. So I think we're gonna have more of those that is like storytelling and more of like things that have happened to us. We're gonna continue to push that, and we have some guests coming up, like other Spanish podcasts, right? That we're gonna record soon.
Yep, yep,
So
yep.
yeah, all right, let's get it cracking. And this is the first video.
Your lady, fellas, is telling you how you hurt her, pain you caused, made her cry, and here's what you do. You hold up a shield. She's talking about the pain, and you hold up the shield. Defensiveness, self-protection. You start defending your innocence instead of listening to how she feels. You got the shield up. Put your shield down. Stop getting so defensive. Stop trying to ward off this perceived attack. She's not attacking you. She's expressing how she feels. When you put your shield up, you acting like you an innocent victim. You ain't no innocent victim. You complicit to the problem, man. That's why she crying. That's why she trying to have the conversation. Because in this moment, she doesn't need a shield. She needs understanding. In this moment, she doesn't need a shield. She needs to be validated. In this moment, she don't need your shield. She needs a hug. In this moment, she don't need a shield. Kiss her. Give her some sugar. Put down the shield. Because the shield, the defensiveness, blocks you hearing her heart.
All right. What you got?
Yes, I agree. I think and I said it during my divorce episode, and I'll say it again. I need to make myself a note. We need to do one on the negative cycle of relationships. But with this, right, like, while that is very true, like, you do need to put your shields down, you also have to understand why shields come up, right? So if the lady is coming with, I'm feeling hurt, right? Like a little bit of what we talked about in my episode of taking that accountability for herself, then cool. But if it's more like, you never take me out on a date, you never do this, then those are going to feel like shots are being fired. So they're going to be like, oh. But if it comes from a place of, this is how I'm feeling, this is what this action made me feel, then I think that could make it potentially easier for fellas or for masculine humans to put their shields down.
Yeah, definitely. This is just like anything, and I think the whole point of it is, like, I was talking to someone in my family recently, like, everything's in the middle. It's not so simple. Everything is gray. Almost fucking nothing is black or white. Like, everything's in the middle, so it's partially right. And like you said, you have to think about the other side of it as well. But definitely, I want to say that this was me a lot before. I think I definitely do this a lot less now. But before, it was like just like putting that shield up and saying, like, what do you mean in this? And like going back at it and not accepting the criticism, especially the part of not listening and kind of jumping off right away, is something that I used to do often. But yeah, like you said, the more time goes on and the more healing I do, the more I learn about myself, the more it's like, okay, yeah, this is why, this is why I felt like this, and this is why I was denying those feelings. So this is why right away I got defensive, and part of the growth that I'm in right now is paying attention to what's the best way that I can help you and tell you what maybe needs to be said without triggering that defense and that ego to come up and block those things. So kind of figuring that out, because if we do that, then I think I'm in a greater place in making you understand what I need to say and shit, But it's all part of the same thing again of like, it's fucking complicated. There's both a couple things or many things that you have to pay attention to or be aware of. It's not just one-sided, and most of the time, like I said, it's a very complicated thing to deal with if you don't understand, yeah. So we definitely got to get into some relationship episodes at some point.
Yes.
All right, here goes the next one. This one's on a completely different topic, but let me see what you think.
If you want to allow yourself the fantasy that you're not some individual with a social security number and a name and parents, but allow yourself the fantasy that you're 13.8 billion years old and you're part of this incredible ocean of happening instead of just this one individual, and just let yourself experience that for a second. The glorious knowledge that you are a never-ending, ever-changing flow of matter that's temporarily manifested with the ability to express love into a dimension where things are supposed to be cooling off, then that's a fun way to spend your time here before you end up getting eaten by a lion or have a heart attack or whatever happens. It's just a backflip. This is like a high dive. This is like when you see people come off of a high dive and you get like a few seconds to do some cool fucking tricks, That's what you get here. We're like dolphins jumping out of the eternal and we into time. And while we're shoot up into time, we get a chance to do a couple of backflips, a couple of chirps, and that's our life's work. And then we plunge back into infinity again and do it all over again.
All right. What's your initial reaction?
My first reaction is this motherfucker did that because of me and the crystals. I agree.
We can get into that shit, right? Because if that's how you thought it, that's not. I didn't even relate it to that. So
Really?
we can get into
Okay.
that conversation in public, and that's kind of like the point of it, I guess. Now that you saw it that way, yeah, but that was not my intention.
Oh, okay. This is like part of accountability, right? I'm like that. That is totally what my brain told me of. Like, ooh, he picked this one because of the woo woo stuff and the crystals. But I do agree, right? Because if we look at the world or life on Earth as a whole, we are a fucking, ¿cómo se dice efímero? Like algo bien pasajero.
I don't know.
Okay. We are an, I'm just gonna say ephemeris. I don't even know if that's a fucking word. But we are a fucking instant. And right now it's making me think of a song by, is it Caloncho? And the song is called Somos Instantes. Because that is literally what we are. If we think about how old the earth is, we are fucking nothing. Somos un granito de sand.
Mhm.
This big ass motherfucking ocean.
Yeah.
So let's just do some fucking backflips and enjoy it while we can.
Yeah. So see, my thing that, and the reason why I thought about this, well, first of all, I never kind of thought about how he meant it like that. It's because, and I'm gonna tell you directly how it is. It's videos like this and finding meaning in life like this and thinking about life like this made it okay and put at peace the fear of death.
Mm.
So understanding that, so it's kind of like you, and it was cool to think of it like, yeah, I am once again, I am the universe, I am everything, I am stardust, I am made of everything. But the fact that like my physical self is it exists because some other shit happened since the beginning. It just keeps on like recycling, right? So then technically I am part of forever. I am part of
Yes.
eternity. I'm part of that, you know. So it's once again, well, for me, and we can talk about this. Like I'm not religious, not by any stretch of the imagination. I used to be. I was raised Catholic and shit, but I'm finding spirituality through science, spirituality to understanding that, spirituality to figuring that out and being like, oh yeah, you know, I am my fucking flesh is gonna rotten and feed the worms and the bacteria that are gonna feed an animal that are gonna feed another one, that eventually I just continue to cycle through that shit. And I did my part and continue in this journey, or this whatever the fuck it is, in the long run, you know. Because from my experience, or what happened is like you can get into this idea of like that nothing risk, that you don't have a, like you're like you can get like meaningless. Well, what's the point of anything if we're gonna fucking die anyway? So we're just a blip and we're just a grain of sand and shit like that, you know. It can go both ways and shit. And I really struggle that one, especially when I was depressed. It was like, yeah, what was the point on that, you know? So this kind of videos and another one from Neil deGrasse Tyson has helped me understand and make peace with that shit, you know, to be like that. So it's just an example of, for me, finding, like I said, spirituality through science and understanding my place in the universe, which is also beautiful. And I thought, what I did think about is that you were gonna like it because of the one earthness thing, right? We're one with the earth, and giving it that spiritual, like more leaning towards like our ancestors and Native Americans and shit, and taking care of the land and all that stuff. Like by taking care of something, you're actually taking care of the land and taking care of yourself. Like you're just, everything's the same. Everything is one thing. We're all
And
like together in it.
and you know, like the maybe, I don't know if ironic is the word, but not too long ago, because for all of you out there, you might think our episodes are long, and Steve and I stay after we hit stop recording, or he hits it. We stay on these motherfucking calls for maybe another hour sometimes,
Yeah.
um, and we talk about these things. And I think we were talking about like death and how through maybe we can do one too with my trip with, or my experience with ayahuasca as well.
Mhm.
Um, but anyway, we're talking about how I am part of something else, and I don't believe that this is end all be all. Like there is something else, and then you're like, why do you believe that? Like where does that come from, right?
Mhm.
And I said like, I think I come from other lives and I'm gonna have other lives, and then you're like, I think it's just you trying to justify like this part of like finality, right? Of like it's you're dead and you're fucking done. And right now me estás dando la razón, güey, because even if it's through science, right? It's another form of you. When you die, like when if we look back at how the universe was formed, all of those things happened and then you were created, right? At some point you were a sperm, at some point you were an egg, and before that you were something else, and then something else and something else, and after you die you're going to become something else, uh, be the one that's going to be feeding the worms, and those worms are going to be some things. Hun, you have hella motherfucking lives before you and ahead of you from a science standpoint.
Mhm.
Different ways to look at it, la misma gata pero no más revolcada.
Partially, right? Because I still don't I still don't believe in or don't see anything when it comes to like your thoughts or getting guided by ancestry and other shit. I literally just believe like physically that's what, or understanding that that's physically what it is. It's very hard for me to believe in any other thing of other than, yeah, what I'm talking about is my actual matter, my actual thing, not so much necessarily getting messages from my past and my ancestors speaking through all that shit and everything, although they impact my life obviously, right? Because it's one chain, one continuous episode. I'm very what's the fucking word I'm missing? Like I don't believe that shit, pues.
You're logical.
The words of my mom. Tú no crees nada, cabrón. I was like, nah, I don't.
But even if they like we there have been studies where through DNA like trauma gets passed down like that. So even if
Yeah,
it's not like messages like that, you're still receiving DNA messages anyway.
yeah, yeah. But that's
Okay.
cool, right? I think that was the whole, and then I'm surprised that it's happening so quickly, honestly, of like how we're through my own way and through your own shit, like seeing it differently. It's the same thing, right?
Mhm.
I didn't expect it to become so quick for us to understand each other and get to that point, right? So no
Yes.
matter if you're spiritual, religious, or fucking science based, that's cool, and get to your own shit and deal with it however you want.
Yes.
Cool. Anything else before I move on to the next one?
No.
All right, let's get it.
Nobody tells you when you have kids how much you're going to miss your partner. Nobody talks about that.
You better stop preaching here.
Nobody
We
talks
going
about
to church? Is that what we doing?
that. And
Yeah.
Come on now.
and my wife Rachel and I have gone through this episode.
Yes, sir.
Like and we have a 3.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old.
Yeah.
And so we've kind of done it twice in the last 4 years, where you have to like redefine yourself.
Yeah.
And you get so stuck trying to take care of this human being, and all of your oxytocin is focused on this point that you forget to point any of it at each other.
Yes.
And this is where that parallel living comes up, and it takes active intervention to prevent it. Like you
Yeah.
can't just
There's no
figure it
button.
out.
Hit me.
You know, my mom, I think my mom is probably the one that made me aware of this, because as our listeners probably know by now, I don't have any children, so I haven't experienced that. Um, but even before maybe this like awareness, consciousness, whatever, I think that is one of the things that she has mentioned of like, cuando tienes hijos, te olvidas de la pareja. Te olvidas de la pareja because your focus is like your kids. And I agree with that. Just yesterday I was talking to some clients, and they've been together for 30 plus years. Their kids are all now like older. Um and they like recently like remodeled a house, whatever, they moved into that house. And they're like looking at each other of like, oh shit, it's just us now. It's just you and I. Right. And he was saying like, yeah, I felt alone for so long. Like my focus was on, because they come from like very traditional roles of, he was a provider, she was a caregiver.
Mhm.
And he's like, I was doing all these things, all these projects, making sure that our finances were taken care of, and she was at the house, but I felt alone throughout the process. And she was like, yeah, it like seemed like he never needed me. Right. So like that disconnect, because he needed to bring him in the money. She needed to care for the kids. And now that they're moving into like this house, it almost like symbolizes for them this like new so una nueva etapa, right? Like a different stage in their life. And it's kind of like, I guess they do talk about it, but people talk about it more in the later stages, like the empty nest syndrome. Have you heard
Mhm.
about that?
Yeah.
But people think about it when like your kids are old, right? And then you're like, oh shit, like my role as a parent no longer is because they're older. But that happens to with babies, right? Because like he said, like the oxytocin goes into this little human being. Like we want to make sure that it stays alive. Um, so I like the part where he says like we need to make a conscious choice of still making sure that we give each other oxytocin, because that is also a lot of times where maybe like divorce happens, because it's like, who the fuck are you? Like you've been MIA for 20 plus years, while we were raising this kid, and now we don't know shit about each other.
Hmm.
But I
Yeah,
agree.
this is something that's definitely that I think we still need to improve on with Celia, because you do get caught up, but partially, and you're never gonna, or you usually you don't hear this version of it, but like they also don't fucking give you the time. You get me? Like you have to purposely tell you, like, send them to fucking somebody else or something to make that time. There's no thing like Celia shared. My wife shared a video with me that said like your toddler or your kid, when you're trying to have a conversation and it's like playing the fucking cowbell from like Saturday Night Live. I don't know if you're familiar with it, like just being loud as shit, and that happens like all the time. Just get a conversation and trying to get a conversation in, and it's just like this or getting loud and all that stuff. And I think it definitely affected us for a while. I think maybe right before Aaliyah was born, which is my youngest, and then right after she was born is probably the toughest time. We were very like just focused on them and really didn't spend a lot of time with each other and shit. Now at least I am aware of it, and so is she. So we make it a point to check in like every once in a while, to make some time for each other and just kind of have a conversation. And for example, this morning, I got up early and shit, and like so did she. So we just kind of talked for a little bit, like maybe for about an hour, like at 5 in the morning and shit. We just like, oh, you're awake? You're awake too? All right, fuck it. Let's go to the other room and just kind of fucking lay there, and then just kind of had conversations, caught up on a lot of shit, which I think is vital. But yeah, you definitely get caught up in that stuff. And I mean, you guys got to remember at the end of the day, your kids are going to be there for a little bit of time, you know? So yes, enjoy them and do the most, but like you're going to be left with your partner afterwards,
Mhm.
which also forces you to deal with the shit of having a shitty relationship when they're gone. Somebody that I know is getting close to their last kid leaving, and they've been in a terrible relationship, and you can feel it. You can see that shit's about to hit the fan now that there's gonna be just them two. Like you can feel the the tension, or like Yeah, I know something's gonna go down as soon as the youngest one ends up also graduating and eventually leaving the house. So yeah, definitely take some time. I think there was one thing that popped up that was like, I don't fucking remember what it was. It was like 777 or some kind of fucking number, 333-777-555, whatever the fuck it is. But it's something where you check in, like you do something. I think it was the 7 thing. So go have dinner once a week, have fucking so every 7 days, have like some, like every 7 weeks, go on like on a weekend getaway or something like that, and every 7 months like go on a vacation to just both of you or some shit like that, you know. So I thought it was kind of cool to think about how you can at least make an effort to make time. What makes it hard for us, I think, and maybe not, I'm pretty sure for her too, it's just also having somebody to, like, I feel like I don't want to bother people all the time, you know, like, oh, here's the kids, or do this, or I have to fucking, it's kind of like I need the help, and you need somebody else to be able to help you and to be there in your life, to be able to support you guys spending time together, you know, other than fucking waking up at fucking 4 a.m. to be able to have a conversation, or fucking staying up till 2 a.m. to have a conversation. That's usually the other options.
And this is where the Eurocentric perspective has really taken a fucking toll, right? Like this part of like being super individualistic, that takes away your village. That is why when they say like it takes a village,
Yeah.
like that is fucking true. That
Yeah.
is absolutely fucking true, because raising a child, I'm assuming, is one of the most difficult tasks there is. So if you're trying to just do it like your partner and you, like puta madre is gonna be super hard.
Yeah.
But when you
I mean,
have that village, like, right, of like, hey, help me out, because I do have clients too that I'm like, you got to do things for yourself, and they're like, I literally have nobody else to leave my kids with. Like, I just can't. I cannot afford that. So use your motherfucking village. Like, yeah, I mean, I know that you're saying like sometimes I feel bad asking people, but you need that boo boo. Like you do, to
yeah.
make sure that um you nurture your relationship so you can be the best parent that you can to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, the other shit that makes it hard is we are very aware with my wife, and because of experiences and the women that I've talked to in my life and everybody being sexually abused, that I'm like, that's the tough one, right? Like I can't, it's very hard to be like, oh, I'm just gonna leave them there and all that shit, you know. That's very hard to, some shit that we always crosses your mind, because it really could be anybody. It could be who you trust the most. It could be that. So that's the other shit that makes it hard, that we're super aware of it, and that, you know, and especially I think we're doing a good job with explaining to Mia as she gets a little bit older, and just kind of sadly, fucking stupidly sadly, having to deal with that, right? Having to talk to her about it, having to that. So I, every once in a while, I have a conversation with her to remind her that kind of shit. But like, for example, the Aaliyah, the 3 who's about to be 4, that's kind of different, you know. I don't know. She's at the point where she wouldn't be able to understand anything that happened. So it's kind of hard where that always crosses your mind too. That's the other shit that makes it hard. But yeah, definitely got to find a way and lean on people. You have to, or like I said, make the sacrifice and fucking stay up late, wake up fucking early if you have to, you know.
Yeah.
Figure out take them to the, something that you can, I mean, that's simple to do. Take them to the park and have them play in the playground and spend some time there, you know, catching up. You can have a conversation while they're fucking running around anyways. So that'll work. But yeah.
Okay. Right now that you talked about like the sexual assault, a parenting topic would be body safety.
Yeah.
Body safety we could talk about.
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah, that's kind of the point of that too. We can think of a bunch of other shit. Cool. Ready for the next one?
Who broke you? Me. I broke me. You weren't expecting that answer, were you? Starting from an early age, I was abused. Went through 2 failed adoptions and learned to hate. Learned to hate everybody. I didn't care what color you were. And that rage started hurting other people. Was smothered by the cocaine smoke so that I didn't hurt anybody else. So in all, the one that broke me, it was myself, for allowing my emotions to not be in check. For my anger to build up to where I actually hurt other people. You know, to where I actually hurt myself more by hurting those I loved. That's what broke me.
Mm. I'm gonna cry. I can't even like imagine the pain that human must be going through, right? Because how he takes all of this baggage that maybe doesn't even belong, not maybe, that doesn't even belong to him,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because he said, like, I went through he said 2 failed adoptions.
Yeah.
Other people did that. He didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to take responsibility for like other people, for other people's actions, I'm like, fuck, dude, like, and like blaming himself for all of it. No wonder he was so fucking enraged.
Yeah.
Pobrecito.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely is a part of like, blaming the victim. Like it wasn't supposed to be like that. Life wasn't supposed to be like that. It's not his fault. I think he's hopefully right after that, or maybe if he's already healing and he has that awareness of the shit, that it continues to grow. Because I think it's a step, right? I think it's a step that at least you know what you're doing and how it's affecting other people. You just got to continue the journey and be on that path, um that was, yeah. And I knew when I first saw it, like that's what stood up, Emily, and had a similar reaction when you had it. The thing also related with me was that causing pain. My ultimate change and my growth and my development and my healing, whatever the fuck you want to call it, came from being aware that I was causing pain on other people. As soon as I accepted that, I started looking within to be like, what can I do to change this? I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to the last thing I want to do is hurt the people that I love. So then I started, that's when I literally yeah, because this happened before even I had the mental health like fucking breakdown in 2018. This was before, like right before must have been where I started paying attention to that shit. So like it's, I guess for me, I would see it as like I understand where you're coming from, and I see it as like I can see myself before thinking like that, you know. But obviously, with the more healing you do, the more shit you pay attention to, the more you become aware. Then it's remembering that whole ass other side, that it's not your fault. How you were treated is not his fault. The shit that you went through and all that stuff, you know. So the almost the anger is justified because you're fucking trying to protect yourself at the same time, you know, trying to stand up for yourself as a way of defending yourself. But it's not okay to put all that burden in yourself. It needs to work on, like you said, understanding all the shit that other people, that is not normal for you to go through that shit, you know. And often we fucking almost glorify fucking struggle to be like, oh, I went through this and that and all that shit, you know. But we don't pay attention to the fact that like it's not supposed to be like that.
Yeah. I think one of the things that it makes me think is who you are is not your fault, but it is your responsibility,
Mhm.
right? This part of him blaming himself for what's going on, like it wasn't his fault, right? But the part of acknowledging or taking that responsibility of, and even I am hurting people because of one of the things that that my old supervisor used to say: hurt people, hurt people. Right?
Mhm.
Somebody hurt him, he's hurt, so then he started hurting others. And that part of him recognizing, like, I'm hurting somebody, you can then go and change that while still saying, but it wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
Who I became wasn't my fault, or what I went through.
Yeah. That reminds me of Good Will Hunting, right? It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's
My
not your fault.
God.
Yeah, we should
That's such
probably.
a strong scene.
Yeah, we should probably. That helped. That, I don't know how the fuck I ran into. There's things that oh shit, did I get cut off? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you cut
Okay.
off. You
Okay.
said, I don't know how I ran onto him, and
Yeah,
then
I don't know
lost
how I ran into it, but like there's things that shape you, you know, and there's things that like kind of continue, like little things that happen in your life that you pay attention to that are like, oh shit, like just movies or shit that you choose to watch or things like that that kind of stay and or like affect you and shit. And that was one of them too. That I have no idea how the fuck I ended up watching that movie, but I was like, oh damn, this is a good fucking movie.
It's
Yeah.
so good. Everybody
no.
out there, if you have not watched Good Will Hunting, go watch it. It's good.
Yep. All right, next one.
My name's Abe, and when I was 15 years old, my brother called me and told me to come home to do chores, and I told him no, and came home like 2 hours later, and then I went and asked my dad where he was, and he said he was mad, and he went in the backyard, and so I went into the backyard to find out that he unalived himself, and I brought the jelly beans.
My name's Shay, and when I was in like the 6th grade, I watched my brother punch my mom in the face, and I brought the peanut M&Ms.
My name's Abe, and whenever I was 11 years old, I got pretty close to my sister's boyfriend, and then one time me and my brother walked into my mom's house and saw my mom having sex with my sister's boyfriend, and I brought the gummy bears.
My name's Shay. When I was in prison, I watched him drag a dead body out of a cell, and he was blue, and I brought the cashews.
My name's Abe, and whenever I was 13 years old, I was at a carnival, and I heard a lot of people being like, oh, there's a fight over here, there's a fight over here. So I ran over there with my brothers and realized it was my other brother fighting, and we watched our brother curb stomp somebody, and the meat from their jaw came flying out. And I brought the nuts. I think they're almonds.
Se me atoró la uva, dude. What are you doing to me? Gosh, that's fucking horrible. What is this, a fucking trend? Like, what is this?
Yeah, I guess I have seen some similar to ones to this one, so maybe it is a little bit of a trend that's going on.
It's very surprising how they're just like very matter of factly just stating some hard ass shit. I'm just wondering what the purpose of it is.
How I saw it and what I think about it is amazing that you're able just to talk about it like that, right? And I see the fact that you're just able to put on the shit that happened to you. I think it makes it's like a step to, especially the guys again with the tattoos and the shit like that. I saw it was like, oh, it's cool that they're sharing this, and I felt bad for them, and I'm like, oh shit, you went through a lot of fucking things that are fucking unimaginable to. I can't even see, like that. Every single one of those would have completely fucked me up, and like I'm over here thinking I went through a lot of shit, which I did, and not downplaying it, but it's just like, damn, like, you know, that's crazy that they went through all of this shit, you know, and then you're paying attention to the prison. So the second guy, I'm like, oh shit, like your life was so fucked up that you ended up going to jail. And then the other guy too, you know, seeing all those things is like, that's shocking, you know, and it's just like, that's the kind of shit that we used to not get that we're seeing now. And it just makes me not fucking judge, you know, especially after finishing Paper Tigers. It's like we often look at this fucking people as like the shitty people of society, and we don't pay attention to the shit that made them like that, or the struggles that they've gone through, the things that they've suffered. And we often look at, like I said, like them, like those kids as the bad kids or shit like that, and not realizing so much pain, so much trauma, so much stress that they've been through. And yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I'm questioning, or is this them just like talking about it very matter of factly, like I worked through my shit, so it no longer takes over my life like that? Or are they like highly motherfucker dissociated from, like, just detached from their experience too, that they are just like, yeah, this happened to me, but it doesn't hurt.
yeah, you can tell on the first guy that he's shaking as he's saying it. I don't know if you caught the body language. So I'm like, oh shit, this is still fresh. This is still something that is still painful just by his demeanor and how he's like talking about it. But you can see the jitter is still happening as he's doing it, you know?
Yeah.
Idea. It you can still see a lot of the pain too. And like maybe the second guy looks like might be stoned or
Yeah.
something like that, right? Like the second guy. So yeah. I just thought like I read into like their pain and I felt their pain, and then I was like, okay, this is cool that you guys are just talking about it, you know, because how often men don't really talk about any of that shit that happened, and the fact that they're able to label it as trauma and all that shit, that tells you that once again you're somewhere on the journey, you know. You're somewhere making the steps. So being able to acknowledge it and talk about it and labeling it as trauma, you're aware of this shit, you know.
Yeah. That is true.
Yeah.
Dame uno bonito, güey.
I don't have them in order, you know, and a lot of them. That's like, I forgot to say that one's gonna be tough. I think that's probably the toughest one out of all of them, and I did think a little bit to do that, if I'm not mistaken. All right, here we go.
You can't heal in the place you get hurt. One of the most difficult experiences in life is that unless you break the cycle, unless you remove yourself from a situation or environment where you have been hurt, you will most likely continue to be hurt. And turning the page is extremely difficult because it implies understanding and accepting that letting go of someone means that while they may have been a part of your history, they do not have to be a part of your destiny. Murakami once said, "Pain is unavoidable, but suffering is optional." And the longer you stay in a situation where you are the one getting hurt, the more difficult it is to heal, and the more you suffer.
Yes, I do, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't say it as nicely to my clients, but I do tell them, you can't expect yourself to get cleaned from the shit when you are in the shit. Can't. Right? So stepping away from places that are painful is, I don't know if a must per se, because I'm like thinking of even my relationship with my parents, the journey that I've been on with that, on like the journey I've been on with that. And I didn't necessarily take like distance from them, but or like when no contact or something like that with you, and still I have been able to heal some of it. But if we go back to like my relationship, right? Like I was expecting to heal in a place where that was hurting me. So I do believe is true.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And like this was also like the thing. I mean, I thought about the situation with my mom instantly, right? To follow up on that. because as sad as it is, like you do feel better, because you're more at peace, or at least you don't have to deal with it so often and have to deal with that. But yeah, I agree with you that it doesn't have to be like all or nothing. I kind of think you can become aware of who and the distance that you keep. It could be somebody you're living with and shit like that. And how do you remove yourself to protect yourself from that? Maybe just as simple as being sadly less vulnerable with them, and being like a less, like, you don't have to do that with them, and to protect yourself and be that with somebody else. The shit I've told 2 or 3 people recently is something similar of, I guess, along with where I'm getting at, is like, a lot of people fucking suck and they're not going to be there for you, and lean on the ones that are there for you. Don't pay attention to the ones that don't, just lean on the ones that are. And it's going to be tough, because you see them as your family, your friends, or whatever the fuck, but you can't really, or yeah, they're just not ready, or you don't get what you wanted at the relationship, so you just kind of like, I guess, see it on different levels, is how I'm visioning it. And who can you truly be yourself with? Who can you be vulnerable with yourself? Who you can go to. And it's in this card now. It's kind of part of that, developing and understanding those things. Then you start kind of removing yourself from those relationships that you don't want to really be in, that are bad for you. Once you develop the awareness of, or maybe once you experience, oh shit, this person makes me feel good, this person helps me feel seen, this person understands me, you'll naturally lean towards that person more. Then you'll be able to be like, well, wait, what the fuck? Well, this person doesn't do that shit for me, so now I'm just gonna be like, oh, this is different. But sadly, a lot of people don't have that one fucking person even to show them what a good friendship, what a good relationship should be like. So you just kind of like think that's normal. So figuring that out will let you see and start setting up some distance between the ones that are not there for you how you need them to be there for you.
I just sent you an image that maybe you can pull up. As you're talking about this, this is what it reminded me of. Oh, camera, it's not focusing. Okay.
Yeah, let me share it.
Mm,
Share screen, share screen,
and
share screen, bam, share.
and it's really interesting how you're talking about this after you and I had that conversation, right? About figuring out who is it that I can have those conversations with, where can I
Yeah.
get my cup filled, and you deciding people. This is like the levels of closeness with people. The obviously, like, the one in the middle is the close friend, and the very outside is just uh
Mostly
strangers, like the world, right? um you get to decide who moves in and who moves out, and that this is a living thing. It's not where, like, okay, you're part of my inner circle, you're going to stay there. Life shifts, shit happens, events come about. You and I talked about that human that recently kicked me out of their life completely.
over here. There's everybody else, and then you got kicked the fuck out of over here.
I got kicked the fuck out, right? But part of it, is also understanding that while I got kicked out, and I am, and completely agree with you, I am in the black zone right there, like in the abyss. It has nothing to do with me, right? Did it hurt me? Absolutely. Like it was saying on that video, pain is inevitable, and it was hurtful to find out that that person kicked me out of their life. uh, but the suffering part, like, I choose not to suffer and I choose not to dwell on it. Yes, it hurt me, and I can acknowledge that, and I can just, like, be like, all right, it has nothing to do with me. They're going through something where I don't align with whatever they're doing, and that has nothing to do with me. So Best of
Yeah.
luck to you, boo boo. You know who you are.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and of course the tough shit is to do that and remove from those situations is that we're fucking taught to accept shitty relationships from our loved ones because they're blood. Like that's the shit of like, oh, this is, I mean, touching up on the same shit. This is your mom, this is your dad, this is your brother, this is your cousin, and you're supposed to be earthquake. Yep, there's an earthquake.
Are you fucking serious right now?
Holy shit! Hold up. Yep. Okay, did it stop? Celia's gonna fucking come running in. Yeah, it's still happening. Ooh. Okay, cool. I think it's good. You good? Okay. Yeah, it was kind of bad. It was like in 3 different waves. Okay, good. Now I'm hyper aware of it. Yeah. The fuck was I
Is
saying?
this like a normal thing where you're just like sitting here, didn't even stop the recording? You're just like, yeah, there's an
Well,
earthquake.
it depends how fucking mild, like how bad it is, you know. And I'm used to California. There was one like 4 or 5 days ago. I mean, if it would have been worse, I would have had fucking stop and would have gone over there. But yeah, yeah, that thing of like people are like, you know, you gotta take shit from your family members and all that stuff. So now just understanding that, like, nah, well, sadly, fuck that, you know. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be that you take shit from everybody, or anybody, almost whoever
Or
you don't feel like doing it, you know. But yeah,
Mm.
set your
And then,
boundaries. Set your boundaries. Keep your distance. And yeah, like you said, maybe move in and out. Go and test it out if they're ready to move up down a zone to getting closer to you or not. And if you don't get it, then you know, fuck it.
yeah.
You know, every once in a while and go from there. You know.
Yeah, I think for me the only people that can move in and out of that and I will let them back in is like my 4 siblings. Like other than that, like I think I've come to a place in my life, like I think even my parents, like they don't, if that were to happen, like I don't think I would be okay with that. I would be completely okay with cutting a parent off. Maybe not completely, but with my siblings, and I was having this conversation with my sister this morning, where I'm like, I was telling her about people that have gone out of my life and it has been painful, and she kind of did the same thing, and recently she has been trying to reconnect with me, and I told her, I'm like, bitch, you and like the other 3 motherfuckers are probably the only ones that get away with this shit, like that you can tell me fuck off, and then the moment that you're like, sister, I'm ready, I'll be like, all right, come here. But other than that, I'm like, yeah, no, like I'm no longer willing to put up with that, because I also have to be very mindful of like my energy and who I give it to.
Yep. All right. Next one.
Like a lot of people are too lazy to deal with a healed person, right? Because if I'm dealing with somebody that's broken, then I can show up and give bare minimum and still be held up on a pedestal.
Sure will.
Right? Because you don't know no better, right? You ain't never had better. So if I'm showing up giving bare minimum, doing things like opening doors and pulling out chairs, I'm looked at as, oh my God, he's just this incredible man. You see what I'm saying? But if I date somebody that's healed, that type of thing ain't gonna impress them.
It's not gonna, no.
Because they used to that. You see what I'm saying? So now I gotta really focus on being considerate. I gotta really be consistent. I gotta show up. I gotta do the things that a man is supposed to do. Communication being one of them. And I'm too lazy to do that. So I'm gonna stay away from the healed person, and I'm gonna deal with the broken people that I can be a hero to. Like a lot of people are too lazy.
Kind of follows the other one, right?
Yeah. There's two sides to every coin. I agree with that. 100%. Just this past weekend, somebody that isn't necessarily aware of their wounds, like, told me they were like, I'm attracted to you. I was like, okay, what does that mean? Like, what do you want to do with that, right? And they're like, well, I would like to like get to know you and maybe possibly have like court you to maybe have a relationship with you. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, look, I'm gonna say this in the nicest and not an egotistical way. Like it's coming from a genuine place of like honesty. Like, I'm just trying to be honest with you. I can understand why there could be an attraction towards me, because I am because like this person asks, hey, like what are you gonna do? I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to this bar by myself. I'm gonna go to this show by myself. And they're like, you go places by yourself? Like, yeah, absolutely, I do. And they're like, just the things that you do and just how you show up and the things, because I asked them like, what is it that you're attracted to, right? And after they mention those things, I'm like, I can see why you can be attracted to those things, because those are like intriguing, because that is something that you're not used to. But here's the thing, when people learn how expensive it is to be with somebody like me, people pull the fuck away real quick. Like, you look at a diamond and you're like, ooh, so cute, right? And then you go into the store and be like, how much is that? And they tell you the price and you're like, never mind. I'm walking out of that. And that is, people that are on their healing journey will attract a lot of people, because you give off that like good vibe, like that frequency. But when people realize how much effort, how expensive it is to be with somebody, whether it's time, energy, self-awareness, they don't want to do it. So when I told them this, they were like, you know what? You're right. You are expensive. And thank you for being honest, and we can continue being friends. I'm like, cool. Glad we had this conversation, because they are not in a place where they're willing to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I would say you're expensive to somebody that's broke when it comes to their shit. Right? You're expensive to somebody that is not there of where you're at, you know.
Mhm.
That's when it's hard to do, because you can't match that shit, right? And
Mhm.
I obviously been married for, on Friday it'll be 10 years.
Shout
and I've
out to
been
the
with,
wife for
yeah.
keeping up with your shit.
And we've been together for 15 years. So I don't know the shit about that, but like I can relate it to the things with the friendship, right? It's something new to me also too, because of the conversations that we had of maybe it's like, well, yeah, I can see why it's hard to kind of deal with me, or like be friends with me and all that shit, and the conversations and the just who I am now. Like it could be
Motherfucker, you
hard.
expensive.
Yeah. But then I said, well, like I was honestly explaining to my wife, I was like, why the fuck do I gotta drop my fucking standards and my shit to fit other people that are not there, you know? Like, why the fuck do I gotta do that at the same time? Like, yeah, you understand. And like, once again, you can classify them in that thing that you shared in that, and who you're there, who's close to you and all that shit. And then just move on from there, keep it going from there, you know? And that's new. And like, I point out to my, shout out to my compadre that told me a long time ago, why the fuck do you feel like everybody has to like you? Why are you not okay with people don't fucking like, when people don't like you, like you struggle a lot? And then that's always been a thing there to be like, oh, I never thought about that. And then I started becoming okay with being like, oh yeah, this person doesn't really fuck with me, and be like, all right, fuck it. You know, it is what it is. But yeah, so
No soy monedita de oro pa caerle bien a todos.
yeah, definitely. I mean, and like I said, it's expensive to be friends with us or to have a relationship with us, because we are gonna talk about real shit. We are gonna challenge and question each other. We are gonna do that shit. So, or we are gonna challenge and question you, at least for me, and do all that shit. So if you just want to talk about what we always talk about, if you only want to talk about the Kardashian or Las
Kardashians and
Pinches
las
Chivas,
Chivas.
then it's gonna be hard for us to develop a deep fucking relationship if that's what it's about. I'm trying to have conversations about ideas and theories and fucking deeper shit than the top layer shit that everybody has conversations about. But if you're listening to it and you know me in fucking person and you're down with that and you want to fucking grow and you're in your journey and you understand the shit and you're open to those I'm craving that shit. So more than welcome. Get your ass over here and we'll give you
Make it
some
rain
wealth.
on me.
We'll give you some of that wealth that then allow you to deal with I guess expensive people like us.
We are expensive. Yeah. I think even like when I say like motherfucker, you're expensive, like you are. That is not necessarily a bad thing. I appreciate that, right? Because part of it is like being challenged. You challenging me challenging you, like this going back and forth. What is going on with my fucking camera today?
Move the mic closer to you.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's focusing on the microphone. But yeah, go ahead.
You could have told me that like an hour ago.
Well, I was barely paying attention to it.
Wow, you're not spending money on me right now. You're not regando este tree, okay?
Yeah.
Go on with the next video because we're running on tangents.
I'm just
Focus, just like the camera did.
All right.
Just fucking be there for your children, you dumb fucks. Be there, love them, listen. I didn't know what I was gonna do, but I knew that I had to fucking be there. It's not complicated, homie, right? That's it, bro. That's all I did, bro. Because my dad left, bro. Not having your dad makes a fucking difference, bro. Not having your mom makes a fucking difference. But not having your fucking dad makes a difference, bro.
When you say you knew then that you needed to be there, what did be there mean? What did that encompass?
Bro. And like my mind could only grasp what it could grasp at that time. I knew that I couldn't leave you. I wasn't gonna leave you. That I was gonna show up. That's it. That's all. I'm gonna take you to McDonald's. All I got is enough money for McDonald's, my son, but I'm gonna take you. That's it, but we overthink this shit.
Okay, let me take this one. Go listen to Real Ones by John Bernthal, and this episode specifically. As a man, go do this shit because he goes through that journey and you see a tough tattooed cholo talk about his journey and how he ended up talking like this and having this understanding of life and the shit that he went through. It's one of the toughest shit to hear because he's so outspoken and he's so honest with that shit. And I feel like he's a great example, at least this episode of this podcast, a great example of, once again, us as men, how we can deal or understanding each other from a deeper perspective and understand all the shit that we've been through and how we end up being toughed up and all that. And this episode, I saw it a while ago, maybe a couple of years ago, but it made me understand one of my family members that is just like him. One of my family members that is just like him, that's gone through the shit, but like he hasn't had that moment that he had. He hasn't had that thing. He hasn't had anybody around him, and that this person that I'm talking about has hurt so many people in so many different ways. So everybody kind of judges him and shit, and I like to still remind people at the end of the day, there's a lot of pain in there. There's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of shit, but this accent, his tone, his tattoos, his shit, you're able to see an image of what a tough guy that supposedly he fits into, completely be vulnerable and open about it. So it's very powerful. I'll try to look for it right now while you give your reaction.
I think this one I've seen before. I think I might have like sent it to you actually on because we do I send you pebbles all the time, like the penguins.
Mhm.
With reels, I just like send them to you. And it's like super super powerful, right? Because even like the person in the white hat asks, what does that mean? Like, I'll be there for you, I'll show up for you, right? And then he was like, my mind can only grasp what my mind can grasp. So I don't necessarily know what it would look like or what it means, but I know that that is what I need to do to show up. And many times we think that it is these grandiose gestures that that need to happen in order for you to show up for people. And I don't know why this image came to me, but when I was little, my mom would take me and my older brother from our house to my grandma's hometown, which was probably like walking maybe like an hour walk.
Mhm.
And I just remember her. I don't know if it was because we didn't have a car, she didn't drive, I don't remember. But like this song that she would sing to us so we could get there faster. And she would just sing, "Aprisa, prisa, corre más aprisa, prisa." And to me, like, to think of those moments of, and it was on the dirt, of just running with my mom and my brother. It's probably like my mom, like I told her, like my mom is super seca, so there's not like a lot of like loving memories, but just like that's something that I'm like, that's how she showed up. So like I used to love going to that walk, because even though it was an hour, I didn't give a fuck, because I got to spend time with my mom. And like those are the times where I would see her also being playful, tapping into her inner child. And I'm like, oof, thinking about those moments, I'm like, ooh, that feels so yummy, right? So show up, be silly, be playful, tap into your inner child so you can show up with others and for others. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I found it. So the podcast is called Real Ones with John Bernthal, and that guy's name is Richard Cabral. So I saw that he has a new episode, so I'll definitely listen to it because I haven't kept up with this podcast. But Richard Cabral, and podcast being Real Ones with John Bernthal. So you can see it there now. He has another one too on with Shia LaBeouf. I don't know if you heard about him, but like he went through some shit and he's getting a lot of shit for how he treated women and a lot of people with this when he was an actor. You know who Shia LaBeouf is or no?
Mhm.
Yeah. So in that podcast, I have a different perspective because he also opens up about all the struggles and all the pain that he went through and going to rehab and all that shit, that it kind of hurts me a little bit when I see people on social media just like shit on him still, because he also is aware of the shit that he did and is aware of the pain that he caused, and opens up again in this podcast too. So that's probably a good one too. So it's kind of hard seeing like people continue to then just judge you on those mistakes, and I feel kind of bad for him because same thing, especially as a child actor and all that shit and all the shit that entails,
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty.
How many more do we have?
There's still a while. Whenever you want to stop, we can stop. It's up to you.
Okay.
You could scare a child into submission easily, but fear. You could scare a child into submission easily, but fear casts out love. And you have to remember that what you've just done is you've entered the path of training your child to survive you. And many parents, grew up in a childhood where they just survived their parents and they got away as fast as they could. And if you're not paying attention to your methods, then you're really not paying attention to the spirit at work in your relationship dynamic. You could scare a child into
Yes. My inner child says yes.
Mhm.
I love my father. I love him. He comes from a background with a lot of physical abuse, physical discipline. So I know that he was doing his best when he would physically discipline me. But I think it definitely had an effect on how I relate to him now. Because it's really hard. It's really hard for me to express that love to him. I'm a very touchy-feely person. I'm very, like, physical touch is one of my biggest ways of showing love, and it's hard for me to do that with him, even though, like, I crave it so much. Because I think part of my inner child still fears maybe like that rejection from him. And even as an adult, I can understand why he like would hit me with the bell, but my inner child is like, it's hard to ask for love from somebody that also caused pain.
Yeah.
I think it was just yesterday. Like I saw him and I'm like, oh, I'm craving a hug. And I did ask him for it. I did, and it was nice. But there's always this hesitation where I'm like, should I ask? But I did tell him like, hey, like, I want you to hug me. Like, that's un abrazo, you know, but it's difficult. Don't make your children be afraid of you. Love them.
Yeah, I get so fucking triggered by the fucking people still hitting their kids and defend that fucking stance. Like, I want to punch you in the fucking face myself and be like, well, you want to discipline other people. How about I just fucking discipline you by that and see if that understands, see if that makes sense. The defense that everybody uses is like, well, I came out all right. And I'm like, did you, motherfucker? Did you really? Like, are you really? You think hitting a fucking kid is normal and you think you came out all right? You know, it wasn't your fucking fault. Like people are like, oh, like I remember one specific thing. Somebody in my life was like, oh, but I wasn't like, told me the story of like, oh, but like I didn't used to listen to my mom or my dad and shit, and like they had just bought me new pants and or new shoes or some shit, and I came back from school and like they were all dirty and shit, and then so I got a beating and like I deserve that for fucking on my pants, and I'm like, you're a fucking child, like you're a kid. You are a kid. There's other ways to tell you, hey, you need to appreciate what we have in this fucking, what you got and take care of it because we might not afford another one or other shit like that. But like one thing that I pay attention to and that I catch myself all the time is like, why the fuck do I have an expectation that they have to have the same level of understanding of fucking life that I do when they fucking their brains are not even fully fucking developed? And that's what I told that person. Like, you realize that you don't even know anything like at that fucking age, and for you to be getting your ass whooped or to be getting hit because you're not understanding that is like unfair. And like, once again, ask yourself that, like, are you really okay? Did you really come out okay when you think it's okay to hit somebody that fucking young? You know, that's just like, yeah. And I 100% the shit don't work when you just fear them. It doesn't work, you know. And then just remember, motherfuckers, you're gonna be old and you're gonna need, if you're lucky enough to live past the age when you start slowly being able to take care of yourself, hopefully your child healed. Otherwise, you're going to get the same short temper. You're going to get the same fucking treatment that you gave them because you taught them that was normal. So orale, to deal with the fucking repercussions of your fucking decisions and fucking have a kid that has no temperament, no fucking, that's not kind to you, and that
Yeah.
just like you treat them. Be fucking afraid that, and be hopeful that they go on a journey where they understand you after that.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, okay. Jesus Christ, Steve, you're
I'm expensive, remember?
you're expensive. Like, I am spending right now. I'm like, one more, and we call it a day.
Good. Probably the perfect one from the goat.
The fastest way
creates coping mechanisms. Now, one of the ways that we cope when children are traumatized, one of the ways they cope with it is to soothe themselves, and then that's where addictions come in. But another way to cope would be is if you get the message that you're not good enough, that you are not worthy enough, then you might spend the rest of your life trying to prove that you are. And how do you do that? By being very nice to everybody. By never saying how you feel, because they might not like how you feel. By never expressing healthy anger when somebody's crossing your boundaries. By working too hard to prove that you're worthwhile. That's why I was a workaholic doctor, because I got the message as an infant, as a Jewish infant under the Nazis in the Second World War. I got the message that the world didn't want me, I wasn't good enough. Well, then you spend the rest of your life compensating by taking on too much.
Yes. And I think that those messages go beyond just you or the people around you. Going back to the European perspective, that is what capitalism has taught us. That we need to produce, we need to do, we need to constantly be creating, producing, overworking. And that hurts us all as a collective. And it sucks. It sucks because then there is no permission for you to just be. How many of us actually take time to just be, myself included? Right? Like as I sit here and you and I talk about mental health and this and that, something that I struggle with. Resting for me, like I've been trying to do it more often, but I always have this urge, this internal urge of like, I need to be doing something. I need to be doing something. I need to be doing something. It fucking sucks.
Yeah. For me was the part of like how shit becomes an addiction, right? And my thing of soothing with the food, right? That's the shit that I'm working on. That's like the thing that I'm still paying attention to, and like trying to make an active decision and do that shit with love and understanding, and being like, okay, this is why this shit is what it is. But you're not that anymore, you know? You are able to process and understand shit in a different way, and you have people you can count on and all this shit to whenever you're going through something, you know? So you're starting to see some changes in the shit for me of being like, oh, a couple of times I'd be like, you know what, this is enough. Like, I'm okay. I can eat more, but like, that's fine, you know? So like, that's a good thing that you're starting to see that, you know? And that was with the addiction stuff. One of my friends asked me about addictions and if it had to do with trauma. And I'm so proud of him. I'm not going to name him, but I'm proud of him for the growth that he's having. I think he's listened to all of our episodes pretty much, and he's like giving some suggestions about what to talk about, and that was one of his questions, if addictions came from trauma and stuff, you know. So I'm like, yeah, good, you're paying attention to it. The other thing was like the thing of working, right? Like my dad has this idea that like he has to work and work and work and work to be valuable, to be respected, to feel fulfilled and all that shit, you know. And going back to the tree fucking planting, I was like, last time we were having a conversation where I told them, well, you do realize that you're damaging your body because your inability to heal your mind, right? Like you're putting your body through stress when your body needs to rest because you haven't understood and dealt with whatever is going on in your mind, and that's the sacrifice you're paying for not healing or not understanding and not going to therapy to deal with whatever the fuck that is. You're literally causing your body harm for not understanding that, you know. So yeah, that's the other one that I thought about just that, you know. And to finish it off, another thing that just happened today, Mia's like, Daddy, with my 7-year-old, Daddy, why do you love me? And I said, I think I said something like, because everything and nothing at the same time. Who you are all together. Like there's not specific thing. There's nothing that you need to do. There's nothing you could do. There's not a specific. Like I love you for everything that you are, and for nothing stands out to be like it's because of this. You know, like you, the fact that you are here alone is more than enough. You know, that was my my response to her. What kind of fits into that. You know, I forgot. I said it in a nicer way that I was like, oh shit, but I didn't take a note of it. When something along those lines of like, for everything and nothing at the same time.
Yeah, I love that answer. I love that answer because then you're not tying her being worthy of love to something that she's doing. Because then if she were to stop doing that, then I'm like, well, are you not going to love me if I don't do this? Right? If you're like, oh, I love you because you're a good kid. What happens when I misbehave, right? Like, I love you because you get good grades. What happens when I get an F? So I love that answer.
Mm-hmm. All right. That wraps it up. Anything specific, current events that you want to talk about? And I think we need to might also switch it to maybe tie in that little bit of whatever's going on in our personal lives also works as a current event, right? Because that's part what we do after when we stop recording. You know, that's kind of like
I think just current events with me after recording the episode with the divorce, even though it has been a couple weeks that we recorded it, and I think a week. It still took me a while to actually listen to it, and I think that like grief has really been like present recently with that. So just I guess this is I don't know if humbling is the word that I'm looking for, but just again, the accountability piece and just being very like raw and truthful that even though I've been on this journey with my divorce for quite some time now, that maybe on the episode it might come off as like, oh, I'm good, you know, like I'm on the other side in all of this, that still comes up, still hurts from time to time. And I think that is a little bit of where I'm at with that. Where are you with your episode?
I almost postponed it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like I almost did, and then I was talking to my wife, and like I almost was like changed my mind. I was like, well, is it ever gonna be a good time? Is it ever gonna make it easier? You know? So it just went ahead and kept it as it was. But yeah, it kind of helped me, like kind of like you talked about, to kind of like probably encapsulate. Is that a word?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like put it all together and kind of go through the whole process. And obviously I don't need to explain to my wife or to other people in my life because they've known this journey that I've been in. But to be able to put it together on a podcast and talk about it, like it put I don't know, it helped me kind of understand it more and kind of like process it from beginning to end. Helped me feel a little bit better at it. And the one person that I'm gonna start the coaching or whatever the fuck I call it, I was like, listen to that episode. It's funny that you're reaching out to me because that was the topic. He was struggling with that same thing of family member and specifically his mom. So I was like, yeah, you got to listen to that shit. That'll definitely help you.
Yeah.
And that, yeah. And then just been on that same journey of like that same thing that you talked about, the circles and all that shit, about the levels of friendship and all that stuff. Like, yeah, something that I'm working on to accept, to be like, well, some people just belong here, and no matter how much I try, that's where they're gonna be. And whenever they're ready, then I'll be there. And if not, then like, fuck it, it is what it is. It is what it is. And like I said, part of it is not dropping the level of standard for what I have now to somebody who continues to help me grow and continues to do that, and have those meaningful conversations, and not drop to the standard of that, of just having small talk and shit.
Yeah.
Almost done, baby.
Don't go on clearance for other people.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Alrighty. That'll be all. Kind of short thing here today. Reminder, send us an email, mindfulpodcastliving@gmail.com. mindfulpodcastliving@gmail.com. Subscribe to the YouTube. Fucking review us on Spotify and let us know what you think.
Yes, like, comment, share, subscribe.
All right. Take care, y'all. Reach out to us if you need anything. We care and fucking love you, and we'll give you the time that you need and shit. Don't hesitate, even if you don't know us. All right. Reach out. We'll be here for you. Peace. Oh shit, I almost didn't play the thing. Oh, where is it? Here it is.